well. All my book talk, booktube boys and girlies. It is time. You already know what it is. I'm ready to reawaken the tween. Hunger Games, Ashley once again, when she dives into this. We're about to go home, crack open the can of Dr. Pepper I got out of the vending machine that's really nice and cold, and have to start reading, I think. First Hunger Games in this style of writing and how it's going in like opening up. So Suzanne, we are one chapter in. Are you kidding me? Y'all, I'm understanding now that Haymitch, I would be angry too, because I think I see where this is going. Status update, we're about to be on chapter 4. I'm invested already, like right off the bat. The background on Haymitch's story is really interesting because I don't know how I thought he ended up in the games, but I don't want to spoil, but like it's interesting how they tell the story for that part of the Reaping. I'm loving like all the connections to old characters that you recognize from the prequel and also the main books. So I'm excited to see where it goes. They're starting to head to the capital. So I feel like it's gonna pick up, but I had to read more on my lunch break. In 50 years, we've only met one Victor, and that was a long time ago. A girl who no one seems to know anything about. Lucy. Suzanne Collins is back at it again. I've reached part 2. Something just happened that has me literally, as you saw, just can't wait to see how this is explained. And I know stuff is about to go down because part 2 is in every book. It's where it starts kicking up. Chapter 17. So we have reached the games. It's going crazy already. I guess this still aren't really spoilers, but as tributes died in the Hunger Games, but tributes have died. And some stuff has happened, and I'm just getting feels again. I still have so much to go. It really does remind me of the first book a little bit, but then also it's interesting seeing how Haymitch is approaching strategizing in the games and like seeing his characteristics that you can kind of see as an adult post all of this happening to him and then in this session. So I'm curious to see where everything goes for him in the Capitol here, and I like that you can see the little spider webs of people that come together in the original series without like explaining it that way. So I'm invested. I think it's so good so far. Can't wait to see like where it goes, what's ending, and like get into it. Just the end. The epilogue. My heart. You guys, I have so much left to say and try to keep it spoiler free. Oh my. Okay, so we finished this bad boy. Suzanne Collins has done it once again. This brought me back to my tween days of when the Hunger Games first came out, and I was obsessed then. I'm obsessed now. I was one of the people that really always said we needed Haymitch's games, and we got Haymitch's games, but boy did she give us a lot more, and we're into it. I definitely would give it I think it's a 5 out of 5. That's just me. I know some people felt this book was fan fiction-y. I don't see that. I personally think that all of the connections to the different stories, the different books, made sense. They weren't like made up bits to just appeal to the audience. I feel like each part contributed to how we got to the original story, how we got to Katniss's point of trying to find rebellion, trying to break away, seeing how Haymitch's story inkles here, how Lucy Gray's story inkled in, and all of it tying together to who Snow was as a overall antagonist as well. One of my favorite things was actually that part, was the idea that you could see these little dots of who Haymitch was before the games, why he's the way he is now, as well as all these little trinkets of characters that he was associated with throughout District 12 that you then see Katniss eventually be associated well too. And you can even backtrack to Lucy Gray's story. If you haven't read the other prequel for Songbird, I recommend it because you can kind of connect more of those dots, but you can still enjoy it because it makes you want to go and read that other book to see, oh, we've got like backstory on Snow as well. This is a spoiler-free review, so I'm not gonna like deep dive anything, but let me just say as well, I remember when I first read The Hunger Games, one of the things that hooked me in is we were in like 1-2 chapters deep, and I was hooked into the world building. I was hooked into the narrator's perspective, and crazy stuff already started off the bat that made you just want to keep going through the chapters. Haymitch's story was no different. Literally chapter 1, chapter 2, we were off. I loved a little more like background about some of District 12's ways of working. I loved that Suzanne gave us a little more of a look into previous arenas that we didn't know about, and that we got to dig into some characters we see in the OG series as they were younger and a little closer to when they had participated in the games. And just that the political aspects of it all and where it started was not an instant
Katniss's group is the instant, like, when we tried to rebel, when we excelled at, like, trying to fight back against the Capitol. It tells you that they have been trying. There were these different events that we didn't even know about. On top of that, I'm not going to spoil how, but we definitely confirm the games don't work the way we think so, just like propaganda is. Like, we see what certain people want you to see, right? And in Haymitch's story, it's very vivid that we learn that the theory a lot of people have of, like, the games being rigged, the games being a specific way. We've seen that a little bit in the Hunger Games series, because Katniss talks about it as well, but at the same time, Katniss starts out as a sort of unreliable narrator, being a young girl in this scenario and, you know, seeing things the way she can see them compared to our overall aspect of the world knowledge we have. It's so cool to see how the games really work and how the Capitol truly controls the narrative in these stories as a whole from the get-go when they started doing the games. You can just see it more in this book. You get a little bit of background as to why certain characters in the future series chose to do certain things they did, went about things a certain way, and it kind of ties it together in a nice, like, melting pot for you to get the visual of that. But I really loved just the deep dive into Haymitch's realizations as he's seeing these things happen in real time, that they can make it look like I did ABC, like it's nothing, and change the whole story to fit their narrative, which is the whole, like, what Hunger Games is about. It's just cool to see that, like, trickled in throughout the story, that you can even see how it came full circle into the original series. We didn't have as much background, but we already could see, like, Katniss even questioning. She's like, can they make things happen that didn't happen? Do they know what my family's doing at all time? How often are they watching? What do they really know? Am I really ahead of the game or am I behind? And you see that so much in this book from Haymitch's perspective. He's struggling through the whole narrative to just try to be one step ahead of the Capitol, but the Capitol the whole time is actually playing, it's like he's playing checkers and they were playing chess, and you can see it. But it works around both ways. Like, you can kind of see how he plays them in some moments. So that was great writing on her part. And I feel like the fan fiction thing I've seen people say, absolutely not. I say that sometimes to certain books when I feel like they do just throw things in there. For example, I felt that way about The Cursed Child when it came out later, years after Harry Potter. But this, I feel like, was a beautiful, like, tie-in of just the development of the games, Snow's backstory that we got to look into in the first prequel, and now seeing Haymitch's story and how he is the way he is in Hunger Games. Like, this is a line in the book, so it's not really a spoiler, but it's a line for the book about how he doesn't drink much. That says a lot, right? Compared to his character development into the original series. How did we go from young 16-year-old Haymitch to the Haymitch we know from the original series? So it just ties things together really well. Overall, I think the narrative was so great from his perspective. I think you get to learn a little bit more about other characters and some deep dives into the world lore a bit more. So I just rated it 5 out of 5 for a lot of those reasons. And feeling like it's a solid prequel to the original series, where I literally picked this up and it brought me back to the feelings of the first story I read. Definitely recommend reading if you love the OG series, if you liked the prequel too. I would read it. My recommendation is definitely to read the originals, then read Songbird, then read this one, because that's like the best order in my opinion. Now, everybody goes about it a different way. You might want to read prequels first, then Hunger Games, but I think you'll tie together the story much better and get the true experience by getting this one last. But either way, read it. Let's talk about it. Let me know what you guys thought, if you have read this or if you're ready to read it. And I hope you enjoyed my spoiler-free review and some of my goofy reactions, but genuinely gasping through most of this book. Feelings, all of it. But I hope you guys enjoy, and thanks as always for watching. I'll see you guys in the next book review.